I was walking out as they were walking in. We passed them, and my partner and I rubbernecked, and we were like, what the fuck is happening?
I saw them come in and walk down the hall. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. The head guy, his manner was slick and patronizing. I think he had an elbow on the counter, and he's like, he didn't call me little lady, but he just might as well have. I had no real clear idea of our legal right to even do this. When they showed up, my response was, I've been caught. Yes or no, sir. Yes, I'll open the door, sir. I didn't have any kind of clarity that they shouldn't be here, that this was our space.
I heard it over the headset. They were saying something about men coming into the space. I wasn't clear even at first that they were police. I just knew that they were men. The voices in my ear were saying, like, tell people quietly, don't make a big scene, but let people know if you can that there are men in the space.
Somebody had said that there was lap dances happening downstairs. And I was like, lap dances? So I run all the way downstairs and the staff were there. I said, hey, where are the lap dances happening? And then I see these dudes standing behind them. I said, who are those guys? Are they here to repair the pool? And they went, they're not pool repairmen, they're cops.
I went straight up to them and said, what can I help you with? And the guy at the front, he and another one of the cops stopped, and then two of the others peeled off and started heading through the club. And I said, where are those guys going?
So I was on the first floor when they came in. The energy changed. Things went shushed very quickly. Everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I heard people say, the cops are here. What do we do? We just stood there and waited to see what would happen.
And all of a sudden, you see one woman come into the corner of the pool and lean down, and it was like a wildfire. Everybody in the pool scattered. They just jumped out of it, grabbed towels. There was a mass exodus of people leaving.
Rushing up the stairs came Richard and was like, shut the bar down, close it up. You, okay, 2 more bottles, bye. By the time any police officers arrived on, I guess it would have been the 2nd level of the club, that bar was shut and the cupboard behind me was locked with a padlock.
So we walked up the 1 flight of stairs. I took the permit off the wall. I said, look, as you can see, it's all in order. We have a permit for the event. Is there any problem? He said, no, there doesn't appear to be a problem. We're going to need to walk around the space. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I can't stop you, but this is all women event.
I was in the change room, still have on my leather pants and nothing else. And I'm not a light person, maybe masculine identified, but I'm also very heavily chested. So it was kind of like, the girls are out. The girls are busy tonight. I was with somebody else. Police officer walks up to us, and the cop, I have no pity for him because he doesn't know where to look. And I'm like, can I help you?
They were clearly looking at tits. It was the way they looked, the way they acted. They were not polite. They were there for one thing, to watch the women, oogle the women, stare at the women.
I went into a panic. I thought, well, I'm wearing black. If I just go into a corner, no one will see me. And the one thing that sticks with me is that one of them was whistling. Do-do-do-do-do. And I thought, well, that's odd. Strange thing to be doing when you're supposedly raiding.
Oh my God, yes. Laughing and pointing. It didn't feel like a raid. What it felt like were a couple of tourists at a zoo. As a trans person from the 90s, I was terrified of the police, especially the trans women. There were so many stories I'd heard from trans women, especially street workers, where cops had had arrested them and then put them into a male jail cell. So I was personally terrified. I wasn't afraid of whether I had done something. I was just afraid that they were there.
I remember feeling confused. Is this a big deal? Are we all going to die? Or is this like one of those things where given a hassle and then it finishes and nobody even thinks twice about it? The other thing I remember is just thinking, wow, men are really tall. Because once they entered the space, it became so clear that the rest of us were so small.
This particular bathhouse had the most BIPOC folks in any bathhouse that we'd had. And certainly Black women left really quickly. Trans folks left really quickly. If you've ever had to deal with the cops, they're dangerous and folks really felt scared.
When I opened the door, 3, maybe 4 of them were blocking the door. They held us in there for, I feel like it was at least 20 minutes. They asked our names, we were writing notes, they asked for ID.
And I remember one of the bathhouse committee members was standing outside the room and she made eye contact with me, communicating that they were watching. Our people were taking care of each other.
They asked me what the sling was, and I said, it's a sex sling. You've never seen one before? Like I said, I was filled with bravado that night. I was intoxicated, so I had confidence juice in me. I was up for the little challenge of it, and I was a little like, how dare you? You look like idiots. These are just a bunch of women having a good time naked. This is what you want to spend your resources on? Really?
As one of the people who was a signatory on the SOP, I knew that it was going to be me. The cops, it made it clear that they were going to try and nail us.
Well, the actions taken by the police were complete bullshit. I mean, it was an abuse of state power. The police will kick around whoever they can get away with kicking around. And then, as a result of the raid, they found out that they couldn't. They had no public support for the raid. And so that's actually why we won. We won because the community was solidly and immediately backed us. Because you have to have that kind of power if you're going to fight something like the police.
Obviously, what happened with the police was wrong and wounding. That being said, it coalesced people into more fierceness, made people more defiant, made them more loyal to sexual space politics. There's people who came to know each other, become friends and lovers because of the raid. It made love happen between people. And so it was defining. The politics around the palace changed so much during that period of time. It was deeper conversation. It was more cognizant, especially of trans people in the space. Yeah, that happened. And now we have new gifts, new opportunities to care for each other and to speak to the most subtle things that agents of the state do to control us.